Look, the Pittsburgh Steelers just made a bold move, in my opinion, a really underrated move. And before I get started, I just want to take note of the fact that GM Omar Khan, he is not done with this roster. He's continuing to build it out. There's still cap room left, surprisingly, after this TJ Watt deal. And his most recent move has been at the safety position. So I'll just get right to it. Veteran safety Chuck Clark. He might not be as big of a name as other ads in the past, like Marcus Golden last year, like Quan Alexander in 23, but we're looking at a former key piece for the Baltimore Ravens, and he started 12 games last season for the Jets. So this is not an insignificant move, and Omar Khan continues to build up this roster even as training camp is underway. So we're looking at about 25 days since the trade of Minkah Fitzpatrick, and on the second day of training camp, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they just fortified their safety depth with this signing of Chuck Clark. So let's be kind of clear on who Chuck Clark is and who he isn't. And granted, this signing is a day old, but I think it bears, I think it's good to actually get more in depth with who these players actually are. And we have the time. So Chuck Clark is a player that's here for run defense, most notably. The pass defense, I would say not so much, because Clark has always been a run-stopping safety. He's not going to bring the types of things to the defense that Minkah Fitzpatrick did. He's not necessarily going to bring splash plays or interceptions. But Clark is just a hard-nosed run defender, and he's actually a really smart run defender. So I think this is really an underrated addition to this team. And also, at the very least, he adds competition in a secondary that only really has Juan Thornhill with extensive experience playing at the free safety position in the NFL. And let's go straight to what the con artist had to say. That's a great nickname for him that you guys have given him. Yeah, we've signed Juan in March, talking about Juan Thornhill. That's not to say we won't look to see what else is out there, but part of training camp is for us to kind of figure out and get to know the players that we have and see how those roles are going to come together. And I'm sure you guys will ask Mike Tomlin throughout training camp about how these guys are progressing and what he's seeing. So we're looking at Tomlin also confirming Thursday that Thornhill, he's actually a more significant contributor now than he was before the Minkah trade. I think that's really obvious. And we're looking at Minkah being traded for Jalen Ramsey in June. Now we've got Chuck Clark. So let's a little more on who Chuck Clark is. The 30-year-old Chuck Clark, I want to say Chark, he's entering year 9 in the NFL. He's always been a regular starter in the NFL when he was healthy since 2019. Excuse me. Clark at 6 foot, 209, really extensive experience as an in-the-box strong safety primarily. And he's also played at deep free safety, and he's also slotted in at quarterback a little bit during his career. And he actually took part in Friday's weather-shortened practice in St. Vincent. And at the outset, he rotated in at deep safety with the second-teamers during the latter portions of the session. So they're kind of easing him in. Here's straight from Mike Tomlin. He's a veteran player, a guy who's experienced in the NFL, and a guy we're familiar with from competing against him. I never brought this up. So excited about getting him into the fold and giving him an opportunity. Once again, 6 foot, 209, good size, and he lined up as a deep safety 347 times, and that's compared to 272 snaps in the box last season. So he has played both positions pretty consistently. He didn't play in 23. He tore his ACL. But in his last run with the Ravens in 2022, we're looking at a guy who logged 531 deep snaps, 331 in the box, 180 in the slot, and that's via PFF. So this is a really versatile piece as well. I think he's a really nice add. And here's a little more from Mike Tomlin. I'm just highly familiar with his intangibles. Of course he is. He was with the Ravens, right? He's got a really good relationship with the game. He's a hard worker. He's a really good communicator. His football character, that's what comes in as highly recommended. So how did he get into the league? He was a 6th-round pick in 17 out of Virginia Tech. And he has already played with some of these players he's being reunited with. This is a really good thing, too. He played with Deshaun Elliott. He played with Patrick Queen. And he played with Malik Harrison in Baltimore. So the Steelers continue to poach good players from the Baltimore Ravens. So you got to love that. And Clark is really entering really familiar territory coming to Pittsburgh. So, of course, much of the familiarity that Mike Tomlin has, that's from the 6 seasons that Clark was with hated rival Baltimore Ravens. Then he was traded to the Jets in 23, promptly suffered a torn ACL that summer, didn't return, and then he returned last year and made 12 starts. So his career numbers: 108 games, 75 starts, 5 picks, 6 forced fumbles, 4.5 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, 453 tackles, and that's with 278 total, 9 for a loss. This guy's an underrated, really nice get. This is a good player. And now we have Jalen Ramsey kind of coming in after the dealing of Fitzpatrick. And he actually, this is really interesting. There's been a lot of talk about where Jalen Ramsey is going to play. Initially, I thought he was going to essentially play on the outside, play slot, kind of be moved around at the cornerback position. But it'll be interesting to see what this addition really does to how Jalen Ramsey's going to be used, because he's a cornerback, but during the first day of practice on Thursday, he lined up really often at free safety. Now, that's before this new player came on, and he took snaps at the same spot on Friday towards the end of practice. And now we're looking at Deshaun Elliott. He was signed to a contract extension this past summer to play essentially the strong safety spot. Juan Thornhill, he came into camp, and I think he was projected to be the top free safety. And then we've got Sebastian Castro. I think it's going to be harder for him to make the roster now. He's also one of the options. He was a UDFA that just came in. So I think he was out of Iowa. I'm not sure. You guys check me on that. So, and Tomlin, he really decided not to go into detail about his plan for the deployment of Clark and also these other players. He just pretty much said that training camp is going to sort it out. So let's kind of look at last year a little closer. He actually played 12 games. He started all of them for the Jets. He had 69 tackles, 38 of them solos, and 2 passes defended. And once again, Virginia Tech is where he's from. During his career at Virginia Tech, he had 292 tackles, 195 of them being in his final 2 seasons. He was really hitting the upswing. He was like ascending when he was coming out of college, and he was picked up by the Ravens. So let's kind of think about what this does and what it doesn't do, like how this affects the roster and what it signals. I think, like I just mentioned, 53-man roster, making that is going to be a little more harder for Sebastian Castro. UDFA, so far it's looked like he is going to make this 53-man roster, but now it looks like, at first it looked like his chances were really improved when the Steelers traded Fitzpatrick, but now the addition of Clark, I think it's obvious there's going to be more competition, and it's going to make it maybe more likely that Castro ends up on the practice squad. We will wait and see. Obviously, it changes the depth chart at safety. Adding Clark gives the Steelers a really capable backup for Deshaun Elliott, right, at strong safety. It also leaves Miles Killebrew. I mean, he's a veteran. He's a special teams guy. He's left as a team's primary backup free safety on paper. And we'll see if that's completely on paper, because it looks like Jalen Ramsey, he's lining up at safety some in practice. We'll see if that translates into further in training camp and the regular season. I don't think the addition of Clark really does anything to change up that idea that Jalen Ramsey might be like the ultimate chess piece for this coaching staff to use really creatively and bounce him around. I think you still might see Jalen at free safety this season, maybe in sub packages, and just really, it's just another piece that now this coaching staff can really move these pieces around to get the best coverage players on the field, the best matchups possible at all times. So now you're looking at behind Thornhill and Elliott, Sebastian Castro, Miles Killebrew. Once again, we're basically the second team safeties. Ramsey's going to be mixed in there as well. And Clark, once again, he just saw some reps on 11 and on 11 action towards the end of practice, replacing Castro and playing next to Killebrew. I just want to close with another Mike Tomlin quote. I love Mike Tomlin quotes for you guys. That's why we're here. That's something to be determined in terms of skill set, and he'll get an opportunity to prove that. He's going to be wearing 21. Hasn't intercepted a pass since week 17 of the 21 season. But once again, 100% of the snaps in 8 games last year for the Jets. 1 sack, a forced fumble, both against the Patriots in week 3. And then he had an ankle injury that forced him to miss 4 games, including the Jets' loss to the Steelers last year. And I don't think we need to talk about the picks that Aaron Rodgers threw in that loss. So you guys, I just think this is a really good addition for your Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know it's not a fresh signing that just happened today, but I think it's important to take a little bit of time now that we have some time to do so during training camp to kind of look at these additions a little closely. Once again, I am here to give you an outsider's view, non-fans view of your Pittsburgh Steelers. I hope it's fruitful for you, and if it is, hit the subscribe button. It's a huge blessing to me and my family. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll continue to be here on the daily. See ya.